My name is Kathy Coker. I've been communicating back and forth with you many times, and it's great that everybody's here, and I want to thank you and congratulate you all for stepping up to volunteer on National Voter Registration Day on September 26th. It is a national holiday. It was designated by resolution of the National Associations of Secretaries of State, and that's all 50 of them, to make it a national holiday, the fourth Tuesday of September. So this is a nonpartisan effort, if you think about all 50 states. And last year, on National Voter Registration Day, throughout the 50 states, we registered 750,000 voters. And it's just hopefully going to get bigger every year. This year's an important one because you have to be registered in a party before Election Day so you can vote in next year's primaries, and that's going to be quite important. One of the things I want to remind you about National Voter Registration Day, though, is it's all about democracy. We're helping people to find their voice. We're not telling them what to say. That's kind of a league thing, too, but not all of you have been members of the league very long. So we're trying to cut through all this partisan noise and just remind people that it's their responsibility as citizens to vote in a democracy. So please refrain from advocating a ballot initiative. You can tell them that there's going to be a ballot initiative this year if somebody asks, but don't say pro or con or advocating for any political party or candidate. So that's really, we want to be able to go back to these places, like Bowtie Cinemas. It took them a long time to decide if they were going to let us come and do this. And they're like, we want to make sure you're nonpartisan. So let's keep it that way so we can continue going to all these different places and have the registration cards. So I want to show you, when you get to your place that you're going to be volunteering at, there's going to be this green bag. Now, if you're the first ones there, you're going to be setting it all up. And I want to show you all what's in it. You're going to have a schedule, and it's going to show you who's working with you. If somebody's not coming or something, you should be able to call them. And I'm going to give you each one of these too. So if you're running late, perhaps you could call someone if they answer their cell phone. I'm going to have these little plastic stands, and on it talks about voter information, where people can find it at the League of Women Voters site here in Saratoga County. And this is great because they can find out all the deadlines, who the candidates are, and everything. So this is a nice thing to have out. You're all going to have a blue booklet. And each site will have one blue booklet, and there are a couple on your tables. You can't take those because we need them, but you can look through them now. And it has like a script of what you can say, and you guys can look that over. I would really recommend as soon as you get there and set up that you go through the booklet and familiarize yourself with what's there. There are in the back, I have a little thing that says, talks about the organ donation program, and we're going to have Andrew Sigong here, who's going to be speaking to us for a little bit about this, but this is a program that New York State does. We have a space for people to register on, when they register to vote, they can also register to be an organ donor. And this is a little something you can say to them. You also have the opportunity to help save the life of a New Yorker waiting for an organ transplant by filling out the back of the voter registration form. So you can either say that or you can have it on the table so people might look at it. In the very back, you're also going to have absentee ballot applications. So there are some people who won't be able to vote on Election Day, so they're back there. And inside, there's frequently asked questions, answers, and there's also some information about if you're somebody with disabilities, how can you vote? If you're a criminal, can you vote? Or if you're a homeless person, or if you're a college student, and all of those little information sheets are back in there, because you may run into a question. Also, on that little sheet of who is working with you, on the bottom I have the Board of Elections phone number, and I also have my phone number in case you run into a problem where you have a question. We have all kinds of stuff in here. You're going to be responsible for filling out a little tally sheet. So just make a little hash mark, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And there's different things that, how many voter registration forms were taken, how many absentee ballot applications were taken, how many people you spoke to. And if people if they have some comments and you think they're worth writing down, write them down, because we like to keep track of these things. I also have a tally sheet for the organ donor program too, and that would also be just make hash marks, that's just to let you know. So you've got some bookkeeping to do, not only just register voters. You're going to start. There will be voter application registration forms. Some of them are already stamped with the Saratoga County Board of Elections, but I will also have some that are blank, because you may get some people who are not Saratoga County residents, so you want to make sure you give them the right one. There's a little bit of swag that we have to give out to people. We have stickers, so if somebody registers, give them a sticker, and I have plenty. If you want to take some more, just come up to me at the end. And then we have buttons for you to wear that says, I will help register you to vote. We have pens. We have these little vote411.org information bracelets. So you can just put a few out and let people take them if they're interested. Aha! This is new this year. We have these very lovely sashes that so you might want to wear like a white shirt and then wear this, or black, or a bathing suit. That's excellent. And then a few more things. You will have some voter registration guides, part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is pretty generic about how to vote in New York State, and this is more specific to the 2017 elections. Is that correct? Okay. We also have these lovely bookmarks that I'll put in for you, and they advertise our league and vote411.org. And Andrew's going to be talking to you about this, but there will be information about the organ, eye, and tissue donation. And this is a great program, and we have a grant that we're working with them, and when we do this, our league gets some money that we can use for educational purposes. So that's what's in the magic bag. And I'm going to pass the training over to Andrew Sigel, and he's going to talk to you about the organ donor program. So Andrew, take it away.
How can I follow that? Where's my ribbon?
Would you like to wear this?
Whenever I keep it, you can sign up as an organ donor, right? Yeah. No, so, I mean...
We're the table of troublemakers.
I love it. I did do a registry drive with you, so maybe I'll look that up. But no, thank you for volunteering and doing what you do. I did a couple of these last year in the high schools, Schenectady High, different ones. So it was a good experience, and your work with young voters, getting the voters of all ages getting in the registry is really important. And I was a history major, or not a history major, but I love history. 99 straight A's in history, and the great thing about voting is it's, your own intimate decision, right? Your power to influence change and state, what you want. And really with organ donation, registering in New York, it's the same thing. When you register, you're saying, this is my legal wish, this is what I want authorized upon my death. And the ability, when somebody does that, they can save up to 8 lives from just saying yes to organ donation. And for our donor families of people who pass away in hospitals, we've never had one that has regretted saying yes to donation. It's always helpful to know that from this tragic experience, someone's life has been saved. locally here, we had a case that the family has done a lot of public speaking on behalf of CDT. They're a young family. Their daughter was 13 years old, a straight A student. Her name was Delaney. She had a poem published in a national magazine via her high school. She had like beautiful quadrille. I mean, just way ahead of the game in terms of her, of her mind, her talents. And one day she suffered a spontaneous injury. She became brain dead in the hospital. And at that point, my organization, it's our responsibility to meet with families that are going through these tough times and speak to them about the options. And her family decided to go forward with it. And it was all because of a couple years earlier, her father had gotten his license in the mail. And are any of you signed up as donors? Yeah. Anybody have a heart on their license where it says registered donor? Well, her father took his license out of the envelope, and on the license it had the heart. And being a curious young girl, she went up and she asked him, what's that heart, Yeah, you're not supposed to have a heart on your life, you're a guy. No, something like that. But we talked to her about what it meant, and from that, just that tiny experience, they knew that she would have wanted to be a donor. And she saved 5 lives through donating her organs. Her heart was transplanted, her lungs, her liver, kidneys. And then he also donated her cornea, so 2 people see from her eyes, bone, skin, ligament, all those grafts. She's helped hundreds of people through tissue donation. So that's what this is all about. It's getting people to say yes to donation. This is a very unique way of getting people to register. In the whole entire country, New York State is the only state that has the ability to sign up as an organ donor on voter registration form. So it's very unique, and this all started a couple of years ago. Basically, New York State Alliance for Donation in 2014, they got funding from a federal agency that allowed for a partnership between, for voter registration and the organ procurement organizations. And in New York State, there's 4 organ procurement organizations. I work for Center for Donation and Transplant, which is based in Albany. We cover upstate New York and western Vermont. There's 2 to the west, in Finger Lakes and Buffalo, and then there's 1 that covers New York City. So these organ procurement organizations have been collaborating with the voter registration drives for a couple of years now. So far, it's been really valuable. According to the data that my colleague Shana has gotten, over 30% of people have signed up through the mechanism on the voter registration drive. So, it's a really big thing. Right now in New York State, there's 10,000 people awaiting an organ transplant, and nationally there's 130,000 people. So, Saratoga Springs, the population is about 25,000, 26,000. So, take all the people in this city, multiply it by 6 or 7, and that's how many people are waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. And really, their only hope are those people that are signing up in the DMVs, the voter registration drives, and online. So the work you're doing is really incredible. And every 14 minutes, another person is listed. And while some get their transplant, there's an organ shortage. 20 people pass away each day waiting for an organ that ultimately isn't available. So when we have these donors, when people say yes, it just means the world. So please continue to do the work that you do. One other thing that my colleague wanted me to mention is that there's something called the Young Donor Enrollment Act, which was passed earlier this year on Valentine's Day, which is also National Donor Day. And now it allows for 16 and 17-year-olds to register as donors. Now, since they're young, they haven't reached the age of legal consent. Their parents can still override their decision, but it puts them in the system and establishes their intent. When they're 18, they'll roll over into the registry. You and I are on the legal consent registry. But now, younger children can sign up, 16, 17-year-olds. New York State, we were one of the last states to adopt something like this. Out in the Midwest, sometimes it was like 13, 14, and kids could get their tractor's license. So, yeah. So overall, you're part of the trailblazing effort and continue what you do. And if you have any questions,
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the form it says, if you'd like to be an organ tissue donor, you may enroll, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
At newyorkhealth.gov, can you go there and check to see if you're a registered
You
donor?
should be able to. You have to create an account, and when you do that, it should tell you if you're registered. It'll also allow you to kind of refine what you want to donate. So some people say, I'll donate whatever. Whatever is healthy enough. But some people have reservations. They say, I don't want to donate my heart. It belongs to my husband. No, we get those kind of weird requests. So people have the power to kind of refine that. And what's beautiful about that is if you do that, your family can't override that. They have to respect your wishes as you designate.
Is there any kind of feedback from your organization to know whether this or that argument has been used?
Yeah, so when we have an organ donor, the family will usually know basic information about the recipients before they even leave the hospital, because organs are very time sensitive. You can't put them in a pool or transplant them days later. It has to happen within 24 hours, some even shorter. So, if I was a donor today, my wife would be in the hospital. They would tell her, Andrew's heart is going to be transplanted. There's a team coming from Pittsburgh to transplant it. They wouldn't be able to tell my wife at that time it's going into a 28-year-old who was born better or something like that. But my wife would be able to get that information long term, and CDT, my organization, would provide it. So for all donor families, we support the family in the hospital. We do grief counseling, donor remembrance. We do like hand molds and all these different things because we want families to heal from this type of experience. Without donation, if patients pass away, these families don't have anything to hold on to. With organ donation, though, families have something to hold on to, something positive. So we want them to heal in the hospital, but afterwards, for 3 years, we give aftercare support. So we do bereavement, grief counseling, whatever the family needs. We have annual remembrance events where people come, they light a candle in honor of their loved one. So we try to stay in active role in the family's life as much as they want us to. Yep.
If you've already got the part on your driver's license, does it make sense to do this as well, or do you use it?
You're good to go. I mean, if people want to fill it out, they can, but otherwise, they're good to go. Sometimes we get people that say, I'm not sure if I'm registered. In those cases, we just say, you're registered. It'll just update the information. Oh, and another thing, too, is if people say they registered a really long time ago, before 2008, the registry was a system of intent. So at that time, you could enroll, but the family could still override your wishes. So unless you have re-registered since, you're still on that intent registry, and your family can still override your wish. So what we tell people is, if you think you registered before 2008, sign up again. You'll be in a new system, and your decision is yours, and that will be followed if there's any type of donation potential. Yep.
Some people have donated their bodies to, let's say, Albany Medical School.
Yeah.
So that's
In
separate
Albany,
from
yeah.
this.
Yep. And Albany Medical Center is very unique in that they will accept patients who donate organs or tissues. Some anatomical gift programs won't do that. They make the patient choose anatomical gift or organ and tissue, but Albany Med will accept either way. So in those cases, organ tissue donation would occur first, and then the patient would go to anatomical gift. Yep. And there's absolutely no disfigurement or anything like that. That's another stereotype I wanted to throw out there. They put prosthetics back into the patient, so I mean, there's no way you can tell. I mean, I've seen these recoveries. Another thing to dispel is about age. I mean, you're all very young ladies, but I mean, the oldest donor that we've enabled was 96 years old. There have been older ones throughout America, and there are people all over the United States that have a combined age organs over 100 years old inside of their body. You know, they get a liver from a 96-year-old. They live 10 years. Their liver's 106 years old. It's a great icebreaker. So, any other questions? Yeah.
Is there any issue, like if you died out of state?
Good question, yeah. So what we do is, we partner with other federal organizations, so we can check neighboring state registries. So, if somebody's here on vacation, we can, they live in Pennsylvania, we can check that registry. We even have one case where a gentleman who was visiting his family, he was in his early 80s actually, was from England, and we were able to check the England registry. And he was a donor there, and his family wanted to enable his wish, so he was a donor in America, and then his remains went back to Great Britain for his burial. So crazy thing. So yeah, we can check pretty much all the registries. So we do.
And other states do that.
Yeah, other states do that. Yeah, there's that crossover. So yeah.
Just curious, Andrew, if you're an organ donor, how do they find out about the relative health of all of your organs?
Good question. So for organ donation to happen, usually a patient has to be on a ventilator. So death hasn't been declared quite yet. We still have time to evaluate. So CDT, we have agreements with all our hospital partners that are, and that's driven by Medicare and the federal government. They mandate those agreements because they say this is an important thing, it saves lives. The OPO has to have the ability to do an evaluation. So we'll go in, we'll review the medical chart, past medical history. We look at blood testing, labs, stuff like that. We can do some diagnostic testing. So it gets very clinical, but yeah, we have that ability, and there's almost like, it's like 99.9%. There's never any disease transmission or anything like that. So it's very safe, but it's a very involved process.
I think that we probably need to wrap it up because we
Yes,
have to
thank
do
you.
voter
Yes.
registration training too.
All right,
Thank you
thank you.
so
Yep.
much, Andrew.
Yeah.
That was Thank you. And when you go at your tables, you'll notice that there's an extra seat. And probably people on voter registration day, and they send people from the organ donor program, and they will, I think at Starterville, there were people all day long with you, and at some of the other places. So it really makes it helpful for you, and it's great. All right, now what we've all been waiting for, Janice Burns is a member of our voter services committee, and she's going to do our training.
Okay, before I get to the voter registration form, I just want to reiterate about the voter guide. Part 1 does talk about voting, the basics of voting, so, or voting. But part-
Dates for
And dates, right. But part 2, the main thing about the part 2 flyer is there's a discussion of all the ballot proposals that are going to be on the ballot. There are 3. So sometimes when I'm doing voter registration, we say, and Barbara's really good at this, as people are walking by, so did you know there are 3 ballot proposals on the ballot this year that you have to make a decision on? And they're on the back of the ballot, and that stops people. So read this so you can at least tell people that they're there. There will be a bunch of these in each bag.
Yes.
So you can give these out to give people information. Yeah, yes.
That information is put out by the League of Women
Right.
Voters, and it gives a pro and con for each ballot issue.
Right.
Do we have a slide?
Yes, they will give that. Oh, tonight? I don't know. I don't think so.
I probably could do that one, yes.
Didn't you bring the ballot? Didn't you bring it?
I have those.
Yes, there is a supply here.
Sorry.
Might want to look at.
On the way out, one over. Right. Okay. There are questions here already.
I just was wondering about the green bag, so every one of us is getting, you know.
Each table at the voter registration day, so I'm last.
Oh, okay. Push it
Yeah, we'll
back.
talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, voter registration form, there should be some on each table. They're pretty self-explanatory, but we'll go over.
These are us.
Okay, so could you keep the discussion down because we're filming it? And they can't hear it on the thing. Thank you. Okay, the directions are at the top, so if you have questions, if anybody has a question, it's this side of the read them here. Then pretty, what?
Loud.
Oh, sorry. The first question is qualifications. Answer the question. Then your name, information, your birth date, phone, the address where you live, the address where you receive mail. Sometimes it's different, sometimes it's the post office box. They really want the address where you live because that determines your voting district. So you might live in a different place than where your post office box is. Voting history, have you voted before? Then they say what year, and people generally don't remember if it's been a while, and just tell them it's not important. It helps to find your information, but it's not mandatory that you fill out what year you last voted. If they can do it, that's fine. Anything that has changed, if you're changing, you can use these forms to change your name, your address, and your voter, your party enrollment. Identification, number 13, New York State DMV number, that's the license number, or the last 4 digits of the social security number. You don't need both. It's one or the other. Or you can say, I don't have one. Then the last part of it is enrolling in a political party. They do not have to enroll in a political party if you don't want to. There's about the thing at the bottom to check for no party. And then the optional questions, I need to apply for an absentee ballot. They can get one of those by, they will get a form like this mailed to them, and then they mail this back to get the ballot sent to them. Yes.
I just have a quick question as far as the political party goes. Suppose someone has already, is not initially registering to vote, but has already affiliated with a particular party. Can that person fill this out and then change the political affiliation?
They can, yeah, they can use this form to change the party affiliation if they want to. Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
So do they need to fill out the entire form?
The entire form, yep.
Change.
The entire form. Just to be safe, fill out everything. Just don't assume that they can find you with just your name and your address. If you would like to be an election day worker, they ask you that. That's very important. Poll workers are desperately needed. I know it's been an all-day thing in the past, but there was a